I think we're on. I think this is live. Happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for your really wonderful patience for the last few minutes as we worked to get all the technical difficulties out of the way. I promise we were working fast and furiously backstage to get everything up and running. So I really appreciate it. I know you're busy. I'm so happy to see you. Oh, thank you for waiting. If you are new here around these parts, welcome. Hi, I'm Kim. I'm really excited that you took time to be with us today. We meet here every single Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern to talk to interesting entrepreneurs, founders, CEOs, all about how we can steal all of their goodness, copy their homework, and use it in our own lives. Normally, we are joined by a guest, and all of us, you, me, and the guest, we share all of our tips, tricks, and tactics so that we can learn together. But today's session is a little bit different because today's session is just me and you and all of our friends that are at our virtual coffee shop. Friends like Jeff and Jim and anyone else who is joining from around the world who all want to dig into the subject of job hunting, career placement. Where are we going to go next? What's next on our career path? And what companies do we want to work for? What type of bosses do we want to interact with? And what type of teams do we want to sit on? I will wait no further than to show you the agenda. I know I love agendas, so maybe you do as well. We have already done the Meet Kim. I'll bet 9 minutes late because we had a late start with the tech difficulties. We're going to go over some resume do's and don'ts. We are going to go over how to utilize LinkedIn to make sure that the platform is working for you in the best way possible. We are going to talk about how to leverage your network. And throughout all of this, we are going to take questions, comments, concerns, things that you've seen in the business space as you go and hunt for new career positions or new opportunities. I don't want you to sit back and relax. I want you to lean forward and get your fingers typing so that you can join us in this live learning session. If you're listening in podcast form on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts, no worries, you can still contribute by writing in to me on LinkedIn or Instagram. I'm always all ears for any thoughts or tips that you have when it comes to the job hunt. So without further ado, I would love to just get a temperature check of who is joining us today live by really asking everybody who has switched jobs in the last 5 years. So considering it's 2024, let me know in the chat if since 2019 you have switched jobs or roles. I'm super curious because I think this plays a big part into understanding what the landscape looks like now as opposed to what it looked like in the past. I think a lot of times we get stuck in referencing things that could be years ago. And even though it might only feel like yesterday to us, it is a whole new world out there. So it's important to know exactly what we're dealing with when it comes to the job search. Sounds like a couple people have started to experience what that job search and what that job hunt can look like. I think one of the things that we should really keep in mind now more than ever when it comes to searching for new opportunities is that we are not always finding those opportunities through human beings. Hopefully we are, but more so than not, we have AI scanning our resumes. We have AI that is getting into these portals, looking through these company applications and optimizing around who is going to be the best person for that role. So unfortunately, that means that we need to really hone in our resumes and things that we are turning in, so to speak, to these AI platforms so that the AI platforms are getting all of the necessary information they need to pop our stuff to the top of the pile. So in order to optimize AI and machine learning around your resume, there are some really clear do's and don'ts. First and foremost, use a simple font. I would suggest something like Arial, something that every single computer, whether it's a Mac, whether it's a PC, whether it's new or old, can recognize. It's really important to remember that other people are going to be looking at this and they need to be able to read it really quickly. Other things being mainly those computer programs. Also, you want to leave a 1-inch margin on all sides. A lot of times these computer softwares, they are only scanning a certain area of the page. So you want to make sure that you are staying in that scannable area. You also want to use traditional headlines, so things that the AI and that these computer softwares can recognize. So instead of saying commander of chaos, just put marketing director. Just use some common headlines that the AI and the machine learning can easily understand. Next up, goes without saying, you want to always put your job title in the heading. Again, it's common practice and it just helps these AI programs understand very quickly what you've been doing and where you're at. I wanted to say a big hi, by the way, to Gil and Jen, who's joining from an airplane, and Nicholas and Jeff and everyone for having so much grace and patience as we work fast and furiously to get all of the tech sorted out this morning. Above all else, if you take away nothing from cleaning up your resume, I would love for you to take away the use of keywords. Keywords are going to be your best friend when it comes to your resume, because more often than not, recruiters are putting in these keywords into this machine learning and sorting very quickly through the hundreds or thousands of applications that they're getting. So keywords are going to be very vital. You can get a sense of what keywords people are looking for by reading that job description. So are they using specific software programs? Are they using specific language like logistics or marketing or copywriting? Whatever they're using, try to parrot back that language in your resume, because again, they're probably using this for their own keyword search within that database. You want to make sure to also stay away from certain things like jargon, things like creative headers, which we just talked about. Instead of putting commander of chaos, put marketing director, because a lot of times computer software, that doesn't know what a commander of chaos is. You've confused it with chaos. Also, any unnecessary graphics that are taking up space on your resume, and sometimes even tables and columns can get a little tricky for the software programs to use. So just best avoid it when you know that your resume is going to be going through a portal. It goes without saying that at the end of the day, clear and simple is going to win over cute and creative every single time, at least when it comes to these portals and the AI learning. I feel like I'm always getting questions from people who are like, but my friend works at a real estate firm and she asked for a resume, so I'm sending it to her. Yes, if you're sending it to a human being, sure, you can include, your picture on it, or sure, you can include a table or a graphic if that makes sense. But if it is going in these mass portals, these mass 1,000-person submitting portals, you really want to cut out anything cute and creative and just keep it clean and simple. Using that as an example, it goes without saying that people are always better to connect with than just resume portals. People, real human beings, are always going to be your best ticket in. I always like to use the Disney example. So yes, anyone can go to Disney and you can line up for the rides the same as everybody else. But if you take the extra time and figure out how to set up those Disney fast passes, those lightning passes, then yes, on a few rides, you can skip to the front of the line. It is the same thing when it comes to job hunting and finding that perfect position. Sure, anybody can submit, anybody can put their resume into the portal. But if you find a real human, a real person who works at that company that can hold your resume or vouch for you, that is your version of a Disney fast pass to put you to the front of the consideration set. So when in doubt, as much as possible, always look for that actual human being that can help you get to the front of the line. People are really your key when it comes to job hunting. You want to go out, search, hunt for people at the companies in the positions that you want, as opposed to a very passive way, which is just kind of putting resumes into a portal, or what I refer to as the black hole. I'm sure you've experienced that. I'm sure you've had friends that experience that, where literally you submit your resume and you think, where did that go? It went into like the black hole of the internet, never to be seen again. You really want to make sure, if at all possible, that you can get to an actual human being that works in that company, or an actual human being that has that position, that has that dream job that you want, and connect with them. Best way to connect with them, you knew I was going to say it, was going to be LinkedIn. The best way to connect with real life humans that work at the companies or in the positions that you want to get to. In addition to you reaching out on LinkedIn, it goes without saying that people are also going to be looking at your LinkedIn. I feel like that's always sort of a point of amazement for people when they say, oh, yeah. I submitted my resume and I talked to this person, and a friend of a friend works at the company, and I'm all set. It's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. And then I say, okay, well, what do you think the first thing these people are going to do? They're going to Google you. They're going to say, oh, yeah, that's great. Your friend Kyle looks like he's going to be perfect for this position, but who is this Kyle guy? Let's Google him. Let's put him in a LinkedIn. Let's see what we find out. So just know that that is also going to happen to you. So please, whatever you do, get a new profile picture. Make sure that it is up to date. Make sure that you are smiling. Make sure that you can clearly see your face and your image, that you don't have glasses on. Well, you can have glasses like these, but sunglasses. I'm always surprised and amazed by the people that wear sunglasses and hats in their LinkedIn photos. It goes without saying, leave that for Facebook, leave that for Instagram. We really need to see your bright, shining, beautiful face and your eyeballs, if possible, on your LinkedIn profile. Additionally, make use of your banner space. As much as possible, fill this with relevant information that people might want to know about you, as opposed to just leaving it blank or a solid color, which just isn't going to do much for you in the long term. Also, you want to utilize as much as possible your about section. You want to use keywords in this about section. You want to include your contact info. And most importantly, you want to make this section interesting. This is what people are going to read and understand about you, especially these first two and a half lines. That is all they are going to see before that see more button. So it's just really, really important to utilize that as much as possible. I want to take this question from Gil because it's perfectly timed. It says, not so many job posters include real contact info. And without LinkedIn Premium, the in-mail is just not that effective. What do you suggest? Getting in touch with the right people is key, but in a busy world, we're all fighting for survival at the job. I would do two things to tackle this situation. Number one, usually if the company is big enough, somebody at that company is active on LinkedIn. So I realize that you might want to specifically target somebody in the sales department. If nobody in the sales department is active on LinkedIn, then perhaps somebody in the marketing department is active on LinkedIn. So start following them, commenting on their post, connecting, joining anything that they're doing, whether a live or writing back to a newsletter that they're putting out. Somebody at that company is active on LinkedIn. Find that human and start interacting with them any way that you can. So that's number one. There is a human that's active on LinkedIn at that company. You just have to find them. They might not be in the department that you're specifically going for, but I promise, they are there. Secondly, what I would try to do is I would try to find somebody that you know that knows somebody at that company. So for example, if you know that your friend works at Coca-Cola or your friend's friend works at Coca-Cola, try to find, again, you can search on LinkedIn for that second degree connection so that somebody like Jeff or Giacomo or Jen or Gil can introduce you to somebody at that company. So as much as possible, search for that second degree connection to wiggle your way into that company and into a real person. So key. I cannot tell you. Goes without saying, the new resumes are really Google and LinkedIn. That is going to be what people do when they hear about your name around the table. They're going to say, oh, interesting. I've heard of that guy, Jeff. Oh, interesting. I've heard of Kashif. Why don't we Google them? Like, what's going on with them? Where did they used to work? Who do we know that might know them? That is the new resume, LinkedIn and Google. So it's really key to make sure that your LinkedIn is up to date, that you're leveraging it the best way that you know how, because again, LinkedIn is read by Google. They're kind of one and the same. So just know anytime somebody's Googling you, your LinkedIn is coming up number one each and every time. You also want to make sure to leverage your network as much as humanly possible while in the job search. It's just beyond important that you have actual human beings that are looking out for your best interest when it comes to finding a new opportunity or position. I like to really think about this as the 3 Ds of digital networking. Notice I didn't say networking because I think sometimes people think that that's only in person. Digital networking is just as important. Digital networking is networking with people who you have never met, perhaps, or that you will never meet in the foreseeable future. But you know that digitally you can rely on them, count on them. This Coffee with Kim weekly community is a great example of that. It's not like we're getting together in person every single month, but we are getting in person digitally every single week. So the 3 Ds of digital networking. Number 1, don't wait. A lot of times people wait and hesitate to reach out to someone, to connect with someone. Don't wait. Go for it. There's no day like today. If you join a meeting at work, if you have a client call, if you have a sales call, do not wait. Connect with that person digitally. Connect with them on LinkedIn. Say, it was so great to see you yesterday, or I'm so glad we got to meet last week, or I'm really looking forward to meeting you next week. Don't wait. Connect with that person digitally. Secondly, dedicate time. So a lot of times people say, I don't have time to digitally network. I just don't make time for it. You have to make time for it or else it doesn't happen. It's the same thing as people that say, I want to get a 6-pack, but I don't dedicate time to go to the gym. Well, unless somebody has a magic pill, and if so, share it with the group that you can pop it in and magically have a 6-pack, you have to go to the gym and do like a bajillion push-ups or sit-ups or whatever it takes to get a 6-pack, because that's what it requires. You cannot expect to have a strong digital network if you don't dedicate time to build, foster, and grow a digital network. So dedicating time is so important. And thirdly, dive into profiles. A lot of times people will connect, but not really go deep with those digital connections. So they say, for example, yes, I'm connected to Jen online, but that they don't really sink into Jen's profile and figure out, wait a minute, Jen worked for so-and-so company. That's really interesting. Or wait a minute, Jen knows these 3 people. I've actually been trying to get an introduction into there. So go deep on these connections profiles and see, are there other opportunities? Are there other ways that I could leverage this relationship? A lot of times people go deep, but not deep enough. Let's get into each of these Ds. So don't wait. Great example. You did it here today. Check mark. You joined this live stream. And as a reminder, we meet here every single Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can go to getcoffeewithkim.com right now. It takes 2 seconds and sign up for all of our future sessions. And that will take away your first D, which is don't wait, join a live stream. Boom, done. You did it. Perfection. Next up, taking time to comment on other people's posts. Set up 5 minutes, 10 minutes while you're waiting in line for lunch, while you're going to bed at night, while you're laying on the couch to interact and comment with other people's content. This will really help when it comes to interacting with others. And then goes without saying, but post your content. You've got tips, you've got tricks, you've got tactics. Share them with the group. Why are you keeping it all to yourself? You got to share it, and it has to be digitally for now until Jen's point when we get together in person, which maybe needs to happen in 2024. I think getting together in person in 2024 is sort of a must. I think that would be really fun and really freaking great. So post your own content as much as possible. Don't keep all of that delicious goodness to yourself. Next up, dedicate time. You dedicated time today. Check mark. Time block. You already dedicated time to join us in this live, and you had the patience as we figured out how to get live with all of our technical difficulties. So you already did that. Again, if you signed up for getcoffeewithkim.com, then you've already dedicated time next Wednesday and the Wednesday after that and the Wednesday after that to join us here. You can also dedicate time by writing really thoughtful, direct messages to people, or just being curious or interested in what they're doing. Maybe somebody got a new position. Maybe somebody posted about something hard that they're going through. Be curious, be interested in what others are doing, and dedicate time to show them that. A lot of times we fall victim to, if a tree falls in the forest, does anybody hear it? And in reality, that's kind of like social media. Sometimes you put out posts and you think, did anyone really hear it? And we're all just so busy that nobody thinks to dedicate time to actually respond to you, even though your content might be super helpful and really touching them and helping them in a big way. So I encourage you to be the change you want to see in the world and dedicate time to writing, responding, reaching out to people whose content and updates are meaningful and helpful to you. Last but not least, ways to deep dive into profiles. Again, really leverage these LinkedIn profiles to your benefit. Maybe mention something that that person has worked on or has created. Maybe you can find mutual connections that you both know Giacomo, or you both know Shelby, or that you both know Jeff. Those common connections are so powerful, especially in the case of digital networking. And it goes without saying, looking at potential jobs. You will be amazed by how many people at an organization, when they have a job opening and then when they are really looking for a team member, will say, hey, my marketing team is desperate for help. Do you know anyone? That is beyond valuable and important. So take a deep dive into people's profiles. Maybe they have posted in the past about an open position at their company, about an opportunity with their team. You just have to dive deep enough in their content to find it, which is so unbelievably important. And I know it seems so basic, but you'd be shocked at how many people don't do it. Next up is a little bit of a controversial take on my part. Everyone likes to come at me for this. I do not care. I stand by it. And that is, I think, when you are looking for a new opportunity or position, you should tell everyone instead of keeping it to yourself. Now, I don't mean go out and tell your boss. I don't mean go out and tell your entire team. Come on. Give me some freaking credit. I mean go out and tell other people, your friends, your family, your colleagues, people that you've worked with at past jobs. Really get in with them and say, hey, I'm looking for a position. I'm looking for a new opportunity. I'm looking for more responsibility. And it goes without saying, this is true if you're an entrepreneur as well. You might be saying, I'm looking for more speaking engagements. I'm looking for more brand partnerships. I'm looking for more B2B sales. You have absolutely no idea what somebody else is hearing or going through until you mention something that you are looking for or trying to achieve. I would also say talk to other people about your dream companies. If there are places that in a perfect world, you would absolutely love to work at Spotify, you would absolutely love to work at Apple, you would absolutely love to work at XYZ company, mention those company names. Even if you think this other person has absolutely nothing to do with your world, have you ever heard of that game? It's a car game. You play it when you're doing like long car rides. It's called 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. This is how the game goes. You say a name or a character, and you can somehow, within 7 people, connect it back to Kevin Bacon, the actor. It started as a tongue-in-cheek game. He actually now has a podcast that I think is called like 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon or something like that. It's quite fun. But the point is, you have no idea how that friend of a friend has a roommate who has a cousin who has a sister that has your dream job at Spotify. So even if you're saying, oh my gosh, I'm talking to this person, there's no way. I always like telling this story because I think it's really a perfect example of this. I was talking to my mom, of all people, about wanting to get more clients, wanting to get more international clients, just wanting to do more different interesting work in my business, which is marketing in the entertainment space. And my mom, who is a retired school teacher from West Palm Beach, Florida, at 70 years old at the time, definitely not in entertainment, definitely not working in the music or comedy or sports industries, was able to listen to me. She, in turn, about a month later, was meeting with her financial advisor, again, some like 70-year-old dude in Florida. But as they were talking, and she mentioned her daughter and what her daughter does and what her daughter was hoping to do, wouldn't luck have it that that financial advisor's son randomly worked in entertainment, and one of his clients was somebody that I had kind of casually named. So, long story short, we ended up doing a project with that, and it went from me to my mom to her financial accountant to his son to the client that we actually worked with. So that was 4 degrees of separation through my mom, the school teacher from Florida. So again, nothing to do with entertainment at all. And yet my mom scored me a really big client. Who would have thought? It's definitely like a feather in her cap. That's a big one. So just be ready at all times to share your story, share what you're looking for, and share what you're working on. I love this point from Gil, finding more roles for others than I see for myself. That's absolutely true. It's also helpful because if you know that your friend Jen told you that she's looking for more speaking gigs, you wouldn't believe how the universe works, that the next week or the week after that, somebody mentions to you that they are looking for somebody in this particular role. And then you can go, aha, my friend Jen sounds perfect for this. So it's really important to share and just be thinking of those digital connections as much as possible. Jeff has a great question around the open to work button on LinkedIn. Again, this is a very hot topic. Some people are totally against it. Some people are totally for it. I'm one of those people who, it's a bit of a choose your own adventure. It depends on what type of work you're trying to go for. It depends on your exact situation. If you already are in a current position that you don't want your job to know that you're searching, you might not want to put it on, because if your boss sees that, they might say, wait a minute, this person plans on leaving? What the heck? But if it's a case of you don't have to worry about that, then yeah, I think it could be a really great opportunity to show that, hey, I'm open to hear about new ideas or things that you have going on. I think that's absolutely something that people could use and should use. Giacomo also has a question. What if you want to change totally a field, a country? What is the best advice you could give? I would say exactly that same thing. Find human beings that are in that country, that are in that job, that are at that company that you want to work for. The more actual humans that you can find in that country, at that job, in that position, the better. I would not trust by any stretch of the imagination the black hole of online resume portals. I think that is a total dead end. So I would say as much as possible, even if it's digitally network, try to digitally network your way into actual human beings at that company who know you, know your name. I think that that's insanely, insanely helpful. I would also say, I know we touched a little bit on LinkedIn, but if you need help setting up your LinkedIn, please, please, please go to helpmylinkedin.com. Download the 10 tips that I put together. It really is just like a great 101 for you to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is as current as humanly possible. So again, that's helpmylinkedin.com. And that will, again, just make sure that you are utilizing everything to the best of your ability. Gil also brought on a good point about getting promotions and jobs and how that shows up on LinkedIn. I also want to add that as much as possible, if you do have any sort of promotion or have any sort of switch in your job, please, please, please mark that on LinkedIn. A lot of times, another mistake that I see is someone will say, I'm making this up, they work at Bank of America, and it will say something like bank teller 10 years. But when I actually talk to them, they're like, oh, no. I was a bank teller for 2 years. I was a junior analyst for 2 years. Then I was assistant manager. Then I was manager. Now I'm vice president. And so I say, wait a minute. So you've actually had like 5 jobs in the course of 10 years. And they're like, oh, yeah. They've all been at Bank of America, but I've held 5 different positions. That I wanted to highlight that because that is a mistake that I see really often on LinkedIn. People say, oh, well, I put my company, I put Bank of America, I'm done. Like, check, I did it. Good job, me. When in reality, it's like, oh, wait, if your job is changing, if your titles are changing, if your responsibilities are changing, also list that on LinkedIn, because I think that that's another helpful way for people to see, oh, wait a minute, this is something that's really interesting. And they actually do have experience or they do have a background of doing this. So I wanted to make sure to highlight that because I think that that's something that I see happening a lot that just always irks me. Because I'm like, no, make sure to put all of your stuff in, all of your ways that you have grown and developed in a job or position. It goes without saying, I have loved being able to help. I love these mini workshop sessions. They're so fun for me, but I constantly get messages after these sessions that say, I didn't know about this session. I didn't know it was happening. Where is the playback button? When are you doing another one of these? Who's coming up next? And I always say, I cannot control the algorithms. I wish I could. I wish I knew how. The best way I know is for you to click the follow button on LinkedIn, to click that alarm bell on LinkedIn, to click subscribe on your favorite podcast network. That is the only way that I know for sure that these sessions, this content can get into your feed, to your inbox, to your podcast app. There's no other way to do it. I don't know how. That's the only way, because every other way, it just doesn't work. People miss things. Then they get upset with me because I didn't send it out, but I did send it out, but they just didn't see it. I can't control the algorithm. I don't know about you, but I just can't do it. I wish I could. So as much as you can, I also want to just highlight Nicholas's point. It's really important that you coach, you mentor, you offer help without direct rewards, especially as you continue to really digitally network online and come to coffee sessions like this and learn from others. Do what you can to reach out and help somebody else, because it really does go such a long way. I wanted to thank you so much for being here, because especially with all of our technical difficulties, I know that it was a little bit like, are we starting? Are we stopping? Are we starting? Are we stopping? So thank you so much for kind of bearing the brunt of that with us. I was very anxious. Thank you for sticking with me on that. And we will be here next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, same time, same place. I'm really looking forward to seeing you. And I will say, if you have any thoughts for other mini workshops that you want to see, we get these topics from you. I don't pick them. Shelby doesn't pick them. You pick them. So I encourage you, if you say, Kim, pull up a chair, let's dig in and talk about X, let's do it. What is it? What do you want to talk about? Like, shoot me a DM, shoot me a message, be on LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever you find me. Like, let's talk. What do you want to dig in about? And I am right there with you, my friends. So thank you so much for your time and your energy and your tips. Always good seeing you. Really, really sending so much love. I hope you have a beautiful rest of the week and the weekend, and I will see you next Wednesday. Bye.